everyone, to another edition of the Cryptid Consortium. I'm your host, Jeremiah Fountain, here with my other two hosts, my brothers, Nick Valente and Gary Spike Jr. Gentlemen, how are you?
Hey, doing good.
Doing good, doing good.
Glad to hear that. So we got an interesting topic tonight. Nick, you want to fill the guests in?
Yeah, well, tonight we're going to be doing the Melon Heads. I didn't get a specific date on the first time that they were noticed. Did either of you guys get one?
No.
Nope.
Yeah, there's nothing out there. I know it was before 2018, that's for sure.
The earliest I seen was 2011.
Uh-huh. All right. So,
2011.
well, Melon Heads, by Melon Heads, we're talking about well, first of all, where they were seen. Let's look at that. Ohio, Michigan, and Connecticut. Well, it seems strange to me why it would be just those three states, but I think mostly in Ohio. And what they seem to be were humanoids with super large heads who occasionally emerge from hiding places in the woods to attack people. Um, Originally, it was thought that these were children who were orphans and they were staying at an orphanage and they were under the care of a Dr. Crow who actually did experiments on these kids. These kids started with large heads. Um, what was that? The name of that disease there, Jay?
Hydrocephalus.
Hydrocephalus, and
Yeah.
they started with the disease of large heads, and Dr. Crow injected them with other chemical fluids into their brains, and their heads actually seemed to get even larger than they were originally, and the children became, well, I don't know. I guess the word would be feral. You know,
Yeah.
um, uh, eventually the children killed Dr. Crow, and they escaped from the orphanage. They fled into the forest, and as legend has it, they're out in the forest and they seek out babies and they eat babies. But they what I found is that if you're a camper or whatever, just people going through the woods, if you're going in their area, they come out of hiding and they attack you. And supposedly they have dagger-like teeth. I guess
Mm.
that's part of the influence from the chemicals that were shot into their brains. And since the brain is here, it goes directly down and probably affected the size of their teeth.
Yeah.
You guys have anything else on them? I mean, because this was Ohio mostly.
That's
Um,
Ohio. I can
uh, some of the
the
other
Mich-
states,
yeah, the
uh,
Michigan melon heads of Michigan are said to be um,
that
around the Fort Mansion area, although they have also been reported in the southern part of the state and Ottawa County as well. According to one story, the original they were just like in Ohio, Nick. They were originally children of hydrocephalus who lived in an insane asylum near Felt Mansion.
all right,
Um,
yeah,
Story explains that they were that after ending physical and emotional abuse, they became feral. Basically, what you just said about Ohio,
same
feral
thing.
mutants, and were released into the forest surrounding the asylum. The now here's the historical society in the county denies that there was ever a mental asylum there, but they do admit to it being an old prison.
Yeah, well, there was about I think anywhere from 11 to the high point of 21 people being held at the asylum.
Yeah,
And as in other asylums, way back, I guess in the 40s, actually the 30s, 40s, and early 50s, and it stopped in the 50s. But they used to experiment on people. The old frontal lobotomies, taking out part of the brain, try to cure them, but that never cured people. It just made them worse. And
stuff
supposedly,
Mangala used to do for crying out loud.
yeah, but supposedly they did some experimentation on these people in the asylum, and they got too hard to control. Uh, state wasn't going to give them more guards to help them and more ways to protect the guards and everybody that was, the doctors that lived and worked there. So, like, the information I found is that they actually released them. They
Yeah.
tied them up and released them out into the forest. They couldn't just throw them out the front door. What they did was they took them deep into the forest and let them loose.
Yeah.
So that's the one for that part of the world.
What's Michigan?
Michigan.
Yeah, I just did
Yeah.
Michigan. Then there's Connecticut too.
Well, see, the thing that got me about Connecticut, and we'll get into here we go. If you know how I do, this is literally a list of counties that the same story come out of Connecticut. Litchfield County, Fairfield County, New Haven County, Trumbull, Shelton, Stratford, Monroe, Easton, and Weston. All of them in western and central Connecticut. It's like the same stories just revolving from different areas, kind of like the Crybaby Bridge. But this is another one of them that that we cover. That's kind of to me, it's more of a there's definite. Which I've actually got real proof of hydrocephalus. How do you say
Hydrocephalus.
Hydrocephalus.
Cephalus.
Yeah.
How about hydrocephalitis? Gary, throw a picture up while you're talking.
Yeah.
About what a melon head looks like.
Sorry, I got sidetracked over here.
I mean, something's being seen.
That's I don't know if that's from like a TV show or what, but here's a sketch of some of the stuff that they talk about. Now, this came from the same article in Ohio.
Right.
The Dr. Melon Head Crow. This is a recreation. Now, this is where we're going to get into the real stuff. This is this is a direct recreation of a girl's skull I'll just pull it up right quick. Swelling of the skull. 2006 in Houston, Texas, a 24-month-old girl had hydrocephalus, a swelling of the skull, and this is a direct reproduction of it, or a 3D scan. I guess the reproduction of the 3D scan. Now, folks, I will tell you this next picture is going to be kind of disturbing, but this is an actual count of, let me pull it up, 2022. This young 18-month-old, this is from the, give me just a second, Daily Mail News, Dolly Mail News out of India. But this picture is going to be kind of disturbing, so I'm just giving everybody a warning. Toddler's head was 3 times the normal size of swelling after life-saving surgery. The head circumference of the 18-month-old Rona Begum has fallen from 37 inches to 29 inches following a series of procedures at a private hospital in India's capital of New Delhi. She ended up living and has become normal. I mean, 100% normal. But this one, I'm going to say is kind of disturbing too. I don't.
Go ahead, put it up.
Okay, I'm just letting y'all know. So we do have physical proof that this happened. So, urban legend, misidentification, which we'll get to that in just a second. But what's y'all's thoughts?
Oh my God, that is disturbing. Jay? Oh my God, no.
The symptoms of the swelling of the brain would actually puts pressure on the brain and causes a type of psychosis, I was reading. So that would definitely, how would we say, justify the actions of the legends.
Right. The picture never came up with you.
What's that?
Picture from Delhi never came up.
Yeah, I did.
No, I didn't see it either. There we go.
That's...
Yeah, I've seen this one before, actually. It is pretty... darn disturbing.
Yeah.
And that's the one that lived, Gary?
Yes, she lived. Can y'all see that one I just pulled up?
I can see the one with the blue sheet and the white sheet.
Oh, okay. So that's what's happening is my overlay is not working. Okay, so let me come back here, go to share screen. Let's just share the whole screen. There we go. How about that? Is that better?
Oh, wow.
There we go. That's the same girl?
Same girl. This is, the other one was prior to surgery, and this was kind of getting ready for the surgery. And like I said, she ended up living and continuing a somewhat normal life. No.
Okay.
Did that one pop up?
Yes, it did.
Yep.
Okay, cool. This is a rendering of a kid that got, I guess this young entity or whatever you call it, attacked a 14-year-old child allegedly in Connecticut.
Okay.
In 2011.
Wow.
Do you have the one I sent that was from the front of a newspaper? I believe it has two. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
That's the Kirkland local news.
Yeah.
I mean,
this was actually reported in the newspaper. So.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I believe that it could happen physically. I mean, we've proven that it can happen physically. And we do know that the psychosis, I mean, the brain damage caused by it. I mean, Jeremiah, if anybody, you know how the concussions and swelling of the brain can damage with your history.
Absolutely.
I think that it could happen. My only question is, why do we have 16 stories in 16 different towns? You know, one of them's got to be true, but which one? You know. Now, in saying that, now if we was to go down the rabbit hole, and Nick, this is where I want to kind of get your opinion on this. You know, if we was to say misidentification, just saying, there's a pretty, I would say, pretty legit discussion about misidentification with one of these little rascals.
Yeah.
I mean, if you was to 3 to 4 feet tall, 4 to 5 feet tall, and then like we was talking about before the show, if one of these was to crossbreed, or which we've heard people of having, I'm not big into the UFO scene. That's the reason that's left up to y'all. But it could look more like a human and have a bigger skull.
Yep. I mean, I can see where you can misidentify that, especially in the dark.
Yeah, especially if you're sitting in the dark. But I don't know about there was not enough stories.
No.
Coming out of like physical attacks and everything else. It was more like there's more stuff even like on the Beast of Bray Road than there is this. This to me is an urban legend. But the Kirkland newspaper ran a couple of different articles, and I have an app where I was able to actually go into their archives. Yeah.
And I read one of them, and I mean, it was a brief article, but it said that 7 people were out in the woodland area of Kirkland, and out of the woods, a dozen of these melon heads came running after them. They were anywhere from 3 to 4 feet tall, they're saying. Their heads were, they said, approximately 5 times the normal size. Their teeth were dagger-like.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, so, you know, the alien has a little tiny mouth. They said that these things had wide mouths and dagger-like teeth, very sharp teeth. Now, so, you know, we're talking the type of teeth that a wolf would have. And fortunately for the 7 people, they didn't get caught. I guess they were able to run away, and they ran back to town. They went right to the police headquarters, and the police sent 5 officers up there to investigate, and all they found was a lot of footprints in the area. So that's the only evidence that they found, was a lot of footprints. And I guess between the 7 people and the 12, everything disappeared. The only thing I got to note is that the officers did note that some of the footprints were small, child size.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's for that area, and that's what I was reading. And this was published in a viable newspaper, the Kirkland News. So
Yeah, there's got to be something out there. I mean, or something, but I don't know if that's the right terminology, but there's got to be a semblance of something for it to be this broad of a story. And like I said, we have found physical evidence, but 13 or 14 of them, running that would be conducive of the insane asylum or however.
Mhm.
well, that report said there was a dozen.
Yeah, I know.
We hear. Oh, go ahead, Jeff.
I was just if a dozen of them little rascals come running after me, I'm just gonna pull out a gun and probably just shoot myself because I might not have enough bullets on me.
Yeah, right. We hear stories about feral people too. I know
Yes.
these are meant to be shorter individuals in all, right? I mean,
Yeah.
But if you look at inbreeding would cause genetic
Yes.
deficiencies as well,
Absolutely.
and that's something that was brought up in all three articles.
And that's one thing in saying that. There's even the Native American legends. We was talking about that before too, and we might need to do a show on that. Would be how do you say it, Nick? I mean the Jeremiah the Pugwuggy.
Pugwuggy.
Yeah,
Pugwuggy.
yeah.
Yeah.
They've been talking about them for hundreds of years, and
Yeah.
I trying to think of the best way to say it. I would lean more towards the Native American legends than I would people from the 2018s, 2017s. Now, one thing that I did do some research and found that a lot of these sightings came out shortly after, and I got the name of the movie right here. Shortly after a movie come out, let me find it. I got too many. A film simply titled "The Melon Heads" in 2011.
Yeah. Okay, I read about that too.
So the movie comes out, and then all of a sudden we start seeing
Melon Heads.
seeing stuff
start
like that.
getting reports of them right after.
Yeah. But in saying that, we discussed there is a very famous in the cryptid community and in the kind of the anthropological, is that, did I say that?
Anthropological.
Anthropological, and that is the ever so famous shit. Hit the wrong button. Let me hit share screen. Paracas skulls from Peru, and I know they're more elongated, but there are multiple. I've got multiple articles pulled up of the artificial cranial deformation, and of the Mayans, the Incans, even over in the ancient Sumerians. That would be another show we could probably do is on the Paracas skulls, where they talk about the an alien being doing that. That might be another how would we say misidentification. But these are real. They've legitimately found the skulls.
Yeah.
These are real. They have them in museums, and just like shrunken skulls, that the certain native tribes used to do. That's the only way I could put it. These skulls are elongated. Now, the difference between them and all of the descriptions from the melon heads is that the melon heads are wide.
Yeah.
Wide and big. So they're more, actually, they more conform to the shape of a regular skull, only about 5 times bigger. These in Peru, I mean, they're elongated. I mean, they're like cone heads almost, except not conical at the top. Sort of makes you wonder if these people actually walked around like that while they were living, or did they do something to the skulls?
You talking about these skulls here? Oh, yeah. I got it. Here we go. Artificial cranial deformation, modification, and head flattening or head binding is a form of body alteration in which the skull of a human being is deformed intentionally. It is done by distorting the normal growth of a child's skull by applying 3 factors I want to bring in on this. By applying force, fish shapes elongated ones produced by binding between two pieces of wood. Rounded ones by binding with cloth, and conical ones are. I'm not going to get into all of this, but when a child's young skull, their skull plates aren't put together. Now, if, as you read down through here, part of, as they go over time, these kids with the pressure on the brain, they have psychological issues.
Right.
The skull on the left is of Yuezhi, I can't pronounce it, Yuezhi, Prince of Kazakhstan. This is in Europe.
Kazakhstan, yeah.
Kazakhstan, so right around the Russian. So it's all over the world. So now the one on the right is a skull they found in Peru. And I do want to make a mention of, see the big hole in the front of the skull in Peru?
Yeah.
They say that was from, because they found it with a rock embedded in it from a sling from a war.
Oh, jeez.
But if you was to take a kid and to bind their head to where it would be like wearing a hat that's too tight and growing into it. Of course that kid would go nuts. In saying that, this Dr. Crow maybe found out about the head binding or the injection, because he knows that a child's skull does not develop completely. Injecting the fluid into the skull to get it to expand like that
that they would have room for the brain. I see what you're getting at. Yeah.
Some sick, form of. So we do have physical proof that you can do head modification. We won't call it binding. He's doing head expansion.
Right.
But I don't know how you would be able to put that much pressure in a skull like that and not. Well, they are physically damaged. I mean, psychologically, but you figure it would kill the child.
You'd think that. God, they do it over a long period of time, don't they?
Right. Yeah.
Well, with the binding, they do. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Over 50 years. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, in Africa, and I think it's still practiced today, I guess it's the Ubangi warriors.
Yes.
They put these kind of braces, or they put something on their necks, and their necks become elongated over a period of time. They would start with maybe 5 plates, around their neck, to make it tight, and they'd walk around, like this. And then after a month or so, they would put another one to help stretch it. Kind of, I guess if you're short, it'll help you get a little taller.
Just giving you an idea. The Maya, the Inca, North American natives performed the custom. North American practice was known especially in the Chinook tribes in the northwest and the Choctaw in the southeast. No wonder the Choctaw.
Okay.
Contrary to common belief, there is no evidence of the Native American group known as the Flathead Indians engaged in this practice. Other tribes, including both southeastern tribes of Choctaw and the northeastern tribes of the Chileas, and the Nooksack Indians, practiced head flattening by strapping an infant's head to a cradle board.
Oh.
The located people in the Bahamas, the Tayanos in the Caribbean, the Vishians and the Belaco people in the central islands of Philippines, Sumatrans, Bhutan. I'm just giving you an idea. This is all over the world.
All over the place.
Magnabutu elongated their heads in Africa. Japanese island of Taganishima, from the 3rd century to the 7th century, a group potentially bound the skulls of babies to flatten the back of the skull. China, the Neolithic China, they found it in the whole. I can't pronounce. I ain't even gonna try to pronounce that. This was a paper written by a professor from Harvard, and if you get into it, it's pretty disturbing. I mean, I would not want to put my kid, through something like this. Now, in saying that, why did they do this? I'll mention Mr. Ron Moorhead did a documentary, and I interviewed him about this a few years back, and he said that maybe, they talk about the ancient alien race that controlled the world, or and the Baraka skulls, they say, have even Indiana Jones did a movie about it, the skulls.
Crystal Skull, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, the crystal skulls. Exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, maybe this alien race was here, and the people worshipped the alien race, and they did this to modify. They even say, like, if you look at Tutankhamun now, there is a prime example of a melon-headed kid. Would be some of the old bust pictations of like Tutankhamun and some of the Egyptian gods. You know, they wore that hat, but when they took that hat off, their head did swell out like that.
It still looked like the hat. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely legitimate evidence here. It's
any other pictures come through that I sent you about the melon heads?
I got a few pictures of the melon heads. Let's see. A lot of the skulls of the Paracas. Oh yeah, the most disturbing one of all. Well, we'll do that one last. That way people can go to bed thinking about it.
Right.
Can y'all see that one?
Oh yeah.
All right, you ready? I'm gonna close my eyes. I mean,
Oh God.
it's definitely feasible. We have physical evidence, anthropological evidence. We have pop culture. Can I shut that one down now? It's gonna give me nightmares.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
yeah.
I want to make a copy of that and put it up on my wall. Holy sugar!
But definitely there is a how would we say feasibility in the cryptid side of it, but the stories of the I would, like we said before the show, if somebody just ran across one in the woods, not 12 or 13 of them in an insane asylum and stuff like that, to me it would be more believable. It's funny that all the stories that we was talking about is the same storyline as that movie, and there's so many different sites. But there's definitely like I said, a feasibility part of it. I mean, I even read some reports of people seeing stuff like this in Kentucky. Of course, everything's in Kentucky.
You know, I was just thinking while you're discussing this here, it's funny because I mean we have a lot of different cryptids that are in the woods, and I'm just wondering if melon heads are out there, the dog man is out there, Mothman and Sasquatch, and the melon heads are walking down to the stream to get a drink, and you know the other cryptids see them. Would they attempt to eat them? You know, or what would happen?
Yeah, that's a good question.
That would be something.
I would think that out of all the cryptids you just mentioned, the melon heads would be on the bottom of the food chain.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and here's another thing too, though. We all know that you know, so they say Sasquatch's head is, you know, kind of conical.
Yeah.
Could
it be a young Sasquatch?
Yeah, but these things are not hairy.
Not hairy, true.
For the most part, they've the report. I read the whole report, and they said they had ragged clothes.
Oh yeah.
And many of them did not have shoes on.
So they've been out there a while.
They were not hairy. So I don't
True.
know.
Maybe that one in Kentucky I was reading said it was hairy. I'm not. I've been a pretty busy day, so I didn't get to do the amount of research that I normally do. But
yeah, that's the thing, Gary. Too. You just mentioned Kentucky. I thought I had heard of cases like this in that area of the country as well.
Yeah.
Kentucky.
Out,
you know, the rest of Appalachia.
Well, and I hate to say this, but even I know everybody talks about the Blair Witch Project, but there is a kind of a legend that comes out of that area in the woods in Maryland about a large-headed demon child. It ain't the Leeds, is it? The Leeds child? Was that the?
No, that's
the Jersey Devil.
The Jersey Devil, yeah. But we cover so many of them; it's hard to keep track of it. But I do remember. I'll have to do some follow up on that. I do remember a story coming out of Maryland of that Blair Witch area of a large-headed demon child. My brain is not working. But in a real sense, there's more physical evidence of this with the, like we were saying, the say it again, Jeremiah.
Anthropological.
Yeah, anthropological and the the pictures, and then just like the young lady in the poor thing in India, that her brain swelling causing that to happen. So we do know, and that's another thing too, with y'all talking about it being them talking about it being children. That would be the only way that it could happen, because the cranial is not completely developed in the child, and that would explain behavior.
Here's a similar type of, I don't know if you want to call it a cryptid or not, but the black-eyed children.
Yes.
That come and knocking at your door and help me, and don't ever let them in, by the way, people. If a kid's out there and he's got black eyes, or a bunch of kids, they're asking you for help, you tell them, you just wait outside while I go get my gun, and I'll call 911 for you.
Yeah.
Right there. Make sure you close down all your windows and lock up your dogs and children.
I ain't gonna call 911. I'm gonna call in an air raid, because
Hellfire missile needed on
A-10 Warthog, baby. You can't. I'm trying to think of the best way to say this. You can't not say that this could not be feasible. To me, this would be more feasible than is as feasible as a Sasquatch and a Dogman. There's more physical evidence of alterations or mutations like this than there is anything else. Definitely more than like the Jersey Devil or the Dover Demon or something like it. Now, there's another thing too. You mentioned the rake we just did. The kind of the gray with the gangly arms, but they say they have a big head. But once again, these are very specific with children. But there is a lot of physical evidence that would state this.
Right. Yeah. And actually, this is more current, and it is possible that they're still alive, because supposedly, I didn't get a definite date for the first sighting, but supposedly it was during the 1980s. So these things could still be out there, still alive.
And
it is possible an insane asylum back in the 80s, because they still had them back then, and they still had orphanages back in the 80s.
Yeah.
Yes, they did.
I know. I lived on a street where there was a very large orphanage, and it was surrounded by a 10-foot wrought iron fence with spikes, and they had some mean kids come out of that orphanage. I'll tell you. But it's possible that this was an orphanage, and this doctor tried to help them, or just experimented on them and turned them all weird, with their big heads.
Because back then, in all reality, who's gonna? And I don't want people to take me the wrong way when I say this, but back then, who's gonna miss orphans? If this doctor
especially if they're sending them deep into an area where it's off the roads.
Exactly.
It's they're not going to be even looked for. Nobody's going to. I mean, nowadays we have more safeguards for children, or put into. Well, it doesn't work as much, but we still have more, so that somebody would know where they were.
Well, we say that, but we literally don't know how many children are coming across the border and just getting. We don't know.
Yeah.
I would like to think that if the situation where he's going to the orphanage and to me it would be too consistent to have that many. I would think that it would be more of a malicious thing, that he was not trying to help them, he was hurting them. How would you have that many cases of that in the same orphanage in the same area? That would be. I was reading that they certain forms of tuberculosis and stuff, but way back in the 1800s and stuff, would cause intimate swelling in parts of the body, but nothing of the head. So I don't see having 12 children come out of the same orphanage with the same problem. To me, it would be more of a, and I would feel I would not wish that on anybody, but a malicious nature of a doctor doing that, And I just wanted to bring that point up that, I know we said that's trying to help them, but I couldn't see that many cases come out of the same area. It would be rare. unless he went all over the country and brought them into that area. Maybe now that might be a point too. Nick, you mentioned that before the show. Maybe he was treating it, and people were sending the kids to him.
It's a possibility, yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
Or
the other thing we have over in Michigan, it says an insane asylum. And, they've been experimenting on people way back when, in their brains and doing stuff. So that's a possibility there too. It's just a very odd event.
Yeah, it's weird.
But like I said, with all the cryptids out there, I kind of wonder if Dogman or Sasquatch ever comes across a Melon Head. And I was looking up on a Sasquatch map now, and I'll tell you, right near Kirkland County over there, they have quite a few Sasquatch sightings.
Yes, they do.
Never know. Brings them home and says, "Look, Mama Squatch, I got dessert."
well, that's what I was, either that or to be like, could you picture a Sasquatch walking through the woods and about 12 of these little things come running out at him, and he look at him and go, "What the hell?" Now, here's where I draw the line. If we're out doing some research, if I ever end up coming down east, in which I'm planning on, and we're out doing a research, and I see a dog man running up on all fours with one of these things riding it, I'm done. I'm just going to curl up in a ball and have a heart attack.
Yeah, I think I'd probably stroke out too. Stroke out, have a heart attack. This is definitely a weird one.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say this is definitely a weird one.
This is one of the weirdest ones we did. It was interesting. I mean, I kind of hit it on a fly and run, but it was definitely interesting. It's
highly possible that
exactly.
Yeah,
I mean, because you do have that form of a disease for the head, and people do tend, scientists and doctors do tend to experiment.
Yeah.
So it's highly possible that it could have happened, and and then they developed to a certain stage where they didn't like it anymore. They killed the doctor and fled into the forest, and searched out little babies to eat or whatever.
Yeah.
But according to the newspaper article, they chased people down. So I guess they weren't being too picky at that point.
It's a sad story. I mean,
it really is.
It just kind of hurts. Of course, we're all fathers, so it's it's kind of like I wouldn't wish that on any kid. Before the wife left earlier, she seen some of the stuff and she seen the picture on the screen. She was like, "What's that?" And I pulled it up and she started reading it. She just shook her head and turned around and walked away and says, "I'm not even. Nope.
No part of this.
No part of this." Yeah, but like you said, Nick, I truly believe that of all the ones that we've done, this is probably one of the more creditable ones. I don't want it to be creditable. I damn sure don't want it to be creditable because I wouldn't want to wish any child,
All I know is that's another thing I got to look out for when I go on field investigations.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not something I thought about, but it doesn't matter. We look up, we look down, we look all over the place. We're out there, but my God, imagine at nighttime. Oh man.
Yeah,
set up camp. We set up double perimeter alarms, and man, one of these coming at you if you're crawling up next to you inside your tent. Holy crow!
Like I said, nope, it ain't happening. I've got a friend that had I believe a creditable occurrence with the black-eyed children down in Noble, Oklahoma. And that's one of them, nope, don't want no part of it. And we're looking at it on a physical side of it. Very well could be I would lean towards the physical because we have the physical evidence, but it very well could be on a spiritual or a paranormal side too. But this seems to be more creditable to be physical.
Physical, yeah.
Well, in my research, I've looked up black-eyed children, and I'll tell you, I won't spill the whole beans on that, but there was one part in time in history where I want to say dozens, but no, hundreds and hundreds of reports were reported to police. These black-eyed children coming up to the people's doors and ringing the doorbells. I mean, they were doorbell ringers, and they would say, "Please help me. Can I come in?" And at one point, they tried to get in. And the people, luckily, everybody shut their doors on them. So we don't know what the negative side effect would have been.
Right.
My God, once you let them in, I mean, they're like vampires. You can't say, yes, come in.
Well, that's what I was fixing to elaborate on, and you brought it up, Nick, is that's one of the oldest customs of vampires. And maybe a vampire turns some children, because some of the ancient cultures of vampires is they don't have no pupils, black eyes, even angels. There are interpretations of angels that has black eyes. One of the most famous is the movie Prophecy, the series of movies Prophecies, but that was based on some of accounts of some ancient, or not that ancient, but religious tomes saying them not having eyes. They say that the reason angels don't have eyes is because they don't have souls, and it's just one of the legends, but.
Yeah.
Either way, some little kid comes knocking on my door wanting in the middle of the night. I've got a fairly good, decent, how would we say, tell if they're real or not. That dog will know if they're real or not. And if he's growling and barking, they ain't coming in.
Nope.
And they ain't coming in either anyway. They're not coming in my house, I'll tell you that much.
No, they can stand on the porch all night long. I'm not letting them in either.
I mean, seriously? These things, you never know what they could be.
I've been waiting on I've been waiting on somebody to do it in a movie or something, but I've been waiting. I've got, the Ring doorbell and the cameras and stuff.
Yeah.
Somebody to knock on the door and you look in the camera and you don't see nothing there, and you go to look out the door and there's somebody standing there, and it's like, okay, you're on the camera, but you're not here. You're on the camera. Hey, no, go away.
Yeah, that's why on like my front doorstep, I recently just got a new doormat, and they got a lot of them out there that say welcome. No, don't put something that says welcome.
Yeah.
Because right off the bat, vampires can read welcome. All right, I'm just coming right in. Mine says, I had to order it special from Amazon. Mine says go away. Then I have a little gnome. You ever see the little gnome?
Uh-huh.
I won't say what the sign says, but it says get the out of here. And he's got his little finger up like this, right? And I got him in the corner, and I got my go away thing. So
I don't know if it would be.
You're not welcome. No.
I don't know if it'd be politically correct to say what's on my front door, but I'll say it anyway. Mine says trespassers will be shot. If the first one doesn't work, you'll get shot again. I can go take a picture of it and send it to you. That's it. Just I don't. Something just came to my mind when you was talking, Nick, that with these black-eyed children and these children here, the Norse legends of the goblins.
Yep.
We talk about the Kentucky goblin, but the Norse and like the when I say the Norse, the Norwegian, Sweden,
right.
There's a lot of stories in those of the goblins being smaller with big heads.
Yeah.
Some of them with dark eyes. Wonder if there might be a crossover there in maybe a historical or how would you say
anthropological.
Yeah. Like and that's something we haven't covered either yet is like the trolls from Norway and all that, which we'll get into. All, but this one was definitely interesting. I mean, I know you mentioned it last week, and we mentioned it last week, and this leads into another one that they made another movie about. But there's actually stories that comes out of Kentucky and the Appalachian Mountains about Pumpkinhead. Which is just a bigger version of these. Maybe there's something there. Maybe one of these kids survived and grew up and became a human, full grown, and I dang sure if they've got that bad of an attitude as a kid, I dang sure don't want to meet them as an adult.
No, me neither.
Well, guys, I think we talked the heck out of this.
It's Sorry, it's one
That's
of the
about all
tour
there is
guys,
to
but
it. I
there's about
really
that.
wanted to
Yeah,
find
that's
more
all there is
newspaper
to it.
articles, but nothing.
Well, that's the whole point of this series, though, is to find the inconspicuous, they're the lesser known, inconspicuous, however you want to put it, and some of them are going to be short, and that's the whole point of this. But
Sure.
I really believe that this one has more physical evidence and feasible physical evidence than any of them that we've done so far.
Yeah.
No, it truly does. Really does have more. And it's very possible too.
It
Yeah.
is.
I mean, there are unfortunate individuals out there born as Siamese twins.
Yes.
Unfortunate individuals out there born with half an arm or half of both arms. Some individuals born with no face. See a lot of kids born with a cleft lip, so their faces are malformed. Now, I mean, it's just a malady, a part of life. Now, what their parents were exposed to is probably the reason why they're coming out like that.
They're like that.
Now, whether it be drugs or radiation, maybe they were in an area like Chernobyl, for instance. And things do happen. Like down in South New Jersey, in the Pinelands, they found a snake with two heads.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's kind of common down in here. I mean, that's.
Well, it's down here where everything and everybody is inbred. I mean, God, you're lucky that you're not. Jeez.
Hey, don't make me go wrong turn on you.
Wrong turn.
I wish I had a banjo.
But it's funny you mentioned Chernobyl.
Yeah.
With the Ukrainian war going on and stuff like that, I'm a research junkie, as y'all know that. I've been watching a lot of stuff, documentaries and stuff. The Russian government would not release nothing about Chernobyl, and then Ukraine came in and started pulling some, stuff out. There's been the stuff found over there that they found a bear that was over 11 feet tall.
That's what I read that.
And that's not known to be in that part of the country. They say the closest bears are like in the Caucasus, and there's a lot of stuff coming out of there. So you really, radiation could be anything, and that part of Michigan and Ohio, and that's the one thing that kind of got me too about this story. Is every story that we go back, you can usually, like when we was talking about the Rougarou and the Dogman, the Blair Beast of Bray Road, if you look at the sociological history of the people, like the people that comes in that area, like we know that the French came from France and came down into Louisiana, Michigan with the Rougarou. There's not a lot of legendary tales that are tied in with the culture of the area. This is just kind of out in the middle of nowhere. When I say out in the middle of nowhere, it's just out of the blue. Because they don't. It doesn't have any ties to any like cultural legend.
Anything.
Yeah,
right.
that would go back. Even like Sasquatch, you can take it all the way back to the Native Americans, the First Nations people. Sure. But this is just kind of a fluke.
Fluke. Yeah.
Chernobyl is someplace, I'll tell you. Also, the Mothman was seen there before Chernobyl blew.
Yep.
Was I reading a scientific research paper that said that in Chernobyl they have armored, very large size, fist-sized cockroaches, and they're armored.
No.
And I mean, can you imagine that? You can't kill these things. I mean, it's bad enough you can't kill a roach, easily, and the damn things are now armored. They're as big as a fist. So I don't know what else came out of there, but they're still pushing it. I mean, an 11-foot bear is not an oddity because polar bears are.
Yeah, but for that area, it's danger and oddity. It'd be like an 11-foot black bear in North Carolina. They get up to 5 or 6 feet or 7 foot, but 11 foot, or it'd be like a grizzly in North Carolina. It's just it's not so much of a. I mean, it's an oddity just because they're normally not in that area. But they mentioned too that a lot of the Russian oligarchs are known Russian bear. You know, they would catch bears and bring them to their home and release them.
Sure.
But it was just one of them things that you wouldn't think that it'd be in that area because that's like a plainsy, you know, it's not like a lot of mountains and stuff around.
Yeah, Jay, I think we ought to send Gary and his odd job hat to Chernobyl. Let him do a boots on the ground.
Let him do a live stream. And
don't make me pull this hat off and throw it at you. I can throw this thing all the way to New Jersey.
I'm not there anymore, as you know.
I know, I'm messing with you. I wouldn't want to throw it to North Carolina. I got a lot of friends up there in New Jersey. I ain't got nobody in New Jersey.
Well, and hopefully you two guys will be moving down here. Damn.
That's the plan.
Oh, God almighty, I'll tell you.
Well, fellas, I'm going to jump off of here and go cook some dinner. And
yeah, same here.
It's been a long day.
I'm going to cook dinner and I'm going to go have a piece of carrot cake. Oh, man.
Man, why do you have to mention that? That sounds good. I haven't had a good carrot cake in a long time.
Good, really good carrot cake.
There's only one thing I like better than a carrot cake, and that is a good banana nut bread.
That's
I like the banana nut bread myself, but
I love carrot cake. I mean,
the carrot cake with the raisins and the walnuts.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like I said, I would rather have carrot cake as I would apple pie. Give you an idea. I mean, it's banana nut bread, carrot cake, apple pie, and then like chocolate or I like mincemeat pie a lot too. You can't run fast enough I'll eat it, but you can't run fast enough to give me a pumpkin pie or pecan pie. I've just been burned out on them, as you can see.
Right.
Well, fellas,
this will be my third piece of the day because, oh, God, it's so good.
Well, the thing about it too, though, is carrot cake's actually it's better for you. Yeah, it's better for you than a lot of them.
Right.
The real cream cheese icing on it too.
Oh, nice.
Makes it really good, and it is. It's healthy for you then.
Who made it?
Come on.
Huh? Who made it?
Me.
Oh,
yeah. I cook and I bake, and an old girlfriend taught me how to bake.
Me too.
Mother taught me how to cook. Old girlfriend, she was a German girl, and
well, I tell you what, if we ever go out in the woods after the big melon-headed kids, we'll just make a big cake, and then we'll give it to them, and while they're eating it, we'll tell them that you made it, and then if they want to eat something, they'll eat you next because they'll think you're as sweet as the cake.
And I'll tell them, no, you don't want to eat it. I'm too thin.
Good point. They might want to spit roast me or something.
Try their barbecue sauce on you. And just remember something, Garrett. I don't have to outrun them. I just have to outrun you.
Well, yeah, that's easily done because this fat boy don't run. That was a going joke down here in where I'm at. You know, all these Bigfoot groups. Come on, Junior, go out with us. Like, the only reason you want to go out with me is so you ain't got to outrun me. You outrun the Bigfoot, you just outrun me.
Right.
Outrun the slowest person.
What y'all don't know is I've got a pistol and I'm a pretty good shot with it. I can shoot you in the kneecaps and just waddle on past you.
Exactly.
Well, fellas, I'm going to jump off of here.
Yeah, I got to jump off too. But everyone, thanks for joining us, and we will see you next week. I hear that
carrot cake calling.
Yeah, Nick here's his carrot cake, so we got to get off.
Good.
Guys, have a good night. Thanks everyone for watching.
Good night now.